City Skylines fans have definitely been spoiled lately. To celebrate the 11th anniversary of the original City Skylines, Paradox released a total of 5 new paid content packs. In the previous video, we already looked at the free packs created for the first game. The Renewed History pack, which focuses on urban renewal, the iconic Brutalism pack, which introduced brutalist architecture, and the Race Day DLC, which brings car races and parades into the game. But in this video, we are finally turning our attention to City Skylines 2. Today, we are going to take a closer look at 2 brand new content creator packs, as well as the anniversary update, and see what they actually add to the game. And I can already tell you, among these additions, there is one particularly useful feature that could make city building a lot easier. So, let's get started. First, let's take a look at the Office Evolution Creator Pack created by community creator Titan. Titan originally became well known through the City Skylines Team Workshop, where he created a large number of European-style buildings. Several of these creations have now been released as official creator pack, and he also worked together with other creators on the German region pack for City Skylines 2. This new pack focuses entirely on office buildings. The idea itself isn't completely new, but the way the pack approaches the topic is quite interesting. It essentially shows how office architecture has evolved over the past 100 years. We start with classic office buildings featuring stone facades and traditional architectural styles, and gradually move toward modern glass and steel structures. This makes it much easier to renovate existing districts in your city or to create new office areas that feel more dynamic and varied. If you are feeling a sense of déjà vu, that's not a coincidence. The Renewed History pack we looked at last week explored a somewhat similar idea. However, Office Evolution approaches the theme from a different direction. Instead of focusing on renovation assets, the pack introduces new zoned office buildings as well as several special landmark-type buildings known as signature buildings. The pack adds a new high-density office zone where buildings grow through hive development levels. With each level, the architecture becomes slightly more modern. The early levels are dominated by traditional designs, solid stone facades, and a classic office building atmosphere. As your city develops, however, newer elements start to appear. Large glass surfaces, modern curtain wall facades, and even offices with rooftop terraces. In many ways, this mirrors the development we see in real cities. Older buildings are renovated, expanded, and modern functions are gradually added while still preserving the historical character of the district. In other words, while the Renewed History pack gives you pre-made renovation assets, Office Evolution allows this transformation to happen organically as your buildings level up. Of course, the 2 packs shouldn't be confused, but it is still interesting to see 2 similar concepts appearing at roughly the same time. One thing is clear, though. Office buildings, especially high-density offices, didn't receive much attention in the base version of City Skylines 2. In the base game, this type of building essentially appeared in just one architectural style. Unlike residential buildings and commercial areas, offices weren't divided into European and American style. Instead, they followed a more generic international design. However, if you downloaded the free region packs, you could already expand the available office options quite significantly. For example, the white mid-sized office from the French pack, the classic skyscrapers from the North American pack, and the modern office buildings from the Chinese pack. These certainly add variety, but the problem is that they are not available in every plot size. Office Evolution is much more flexible in this regard. The zone buildings support multiple plot sizes, ranging from small 2x2 lots to large 5x6 plots. This means you can place everything from small office buildings to entire office complexes or large city blocks. Based on the preview images and the trailer, the pack seems to offer a very diverse selection of buildings, including mid-sized office and large skyscrapers. And judging from the creator's previous work, it is quite likely that the architecture will lean strongly toward European styles. The pack also includes 3 signature buildings. These are special, iconic structures that are not only visually impressive, but also provide various bonuses to the surrounding area and its residents. The 3 buildings included in the pack are Brunswick Corner Building, Base J98 Plaza, and Frankfurt Court. According to the developers, these buildings represent a blend of historical and modern office architecture fitting perfectly into newly built office districts. Frankfurt Court also has a special upgrade. It can later be expanded with the Frankfurt Court Tower, giving the building a taller and more modern appearance. Overall, Office Evolution feels like a very atmospheric addition. It may not be the largest content pack ever released, but it can add a lot of character to office districts and help make cities feel more diverse and realistic. So if you enjoy cities where old and new architecture coexist, this pack could be a great way to visually represent how a city evolves over time. Now let's move on to the second creator pack, City Stations, created by community creator BadPeanut. Many players will already recognize this name from the first city Skylines. BadPeanut is known for several popular creations, including the Metro Overhaul mode and a wide range of metro station assets available on the Steam Workshop. He also created extremely wide road assets, including the famous 12-lane roads many players used in their cities. In addition, he worked on the sports venues packs for the first city Skylines. But overall, his main focus has always been transportation infrastructure, especially metro and train stations. If Office Evolutions feels like an additional content pack, City Stations clearly falls into the long-awaited gap filler category. This is exactly the type of pack many city builders have been waiting for. When I analyzed the Bridges and Ports expansion earlier, I mentioned that there is often a strong connection between city building fans and people who enjoy public transportation systems. And within that group, fans of rail-based transportation are usually in the majority. It seems that Paradox may have realized this as well, because this new pack focuses heavily on expanding the transportation infrastructure of the city. So if you enjoy building complex and efficient public transportation networks, this pack might be especially interesting for you. City Stations is essentially about making public transportation systems not only efficient, but also visually impressive and much more diverse. The pack introduces new stations and service buildings for buses, trains, trams, and metro lines, allowing players to create transportation systems that feel far more complex and realistic. In total, the pack includes 22 new service buildings and stations. And one particularly commendable aspect is that the developer have already provided a full list of all the included buildings in the pack description. One of the key design principles behind the pack appears to have been compactness. Instead of massive depots and oversized stations, many of the buildings are designed to take up less space. This means they will fit much more easily into dense urban environments. The creator provides compact versions of all the major transport depots available in the base game, including bus, tram, train, and metro depots. The pack also introduces 3 new types of bus stations, allowing players to build transportation hubs of different sizes. The rail network receives 3 new train stations as well, including a particularly impressive central station. One of these stations will be elevated and another will be a sunken railway station, which is especially exciting because it finally allows railway lines to run partially underground. If this station is reasonably compact, it could solve a common problem in many of my own cities. Quite often, by the time I start building a metro system, my railway network is already very extensive. However, since most railway stations couldn't be placed underground, I often had no choice but to build a metro system alongside it. The bypass stations mentioned in the description typically meant 4-track stations in previous cities games, so it is likely that we will now receive a medium-sized railway station that functions as a proper through station. And since this one can be sunken, it means we won't need to build long ramps for it anymore. In other words, we can finally hide the railway underground. This is a huge improvement because until now, only a handful of modded stations offered similar functionality in City Skylines. The tram network also receives attention in this pack with 3 different tram stations in various sizes. Based on the preview images, these stations will allow players to create unified tram hubs where multiple lines can start from the same location. This could encourage more thoughtful city planning since players could design tram terminals even in the early stages of building a city. Following the same pattern, the metro network also receives 3 new stations. These include a small underground station, an elevated station, and a larger designer-style sunken station. This larger station is particularly interesting because it allows 2 pairs of tracks to intersect and can even function as a kind of park environment. One of the slogans of the pack is Transit Meets Design, which perfectly reflects the idea behind it. Transportation infrastructure that is not only functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. And if that wasn't enough, the pack also introduces overpasses in 4 different sizes. This finally allows players to build a proper pedestrian overpasses instead of relying on awkward road bridges or improvised solutions. In fact, it is somewhat ironic that after more than 2 years, City Skylines 2 is only now receiving a feature through a paid-on that games like Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic, already had in their early stages. But to make things even better, the pack also includes 14 decorative props. Among these are proper covered stops for buses and trams, which finally replace the very basic default stops currently available in the game. These will make it much easier to give tram and bus stops a more realistic appearance. The description also mentions clock towers, and judging from the preview images, several of the props could become extremely useful decorative elements. Personally, I can't wait to experiment with these in my cities. And finally, the pack introduced intermodal hubs. Stations can be expanded with up to 20 different upgrades, allowing players to significantly increase capacity and combine multiple transportation systems in a single hub. This goes far beyond what previous creator packs have offered. In fact, including all the packs released for Cities Skylines 1, this might end up being one of the most impressive creator packs ever released. The packs will launch on 18th of March 2026, and while the exact individual price hasn't been confirmed yet, we know that the bundle, including the 2 creator packs and 2 radio stations, will cost around €22 or $22, already including a 15% discount. So it wouldn't be surprising if city stations alone cost around €10. Still, considering the amount of content included, it might very well be worth the price. As soon as the packs are released, I will add them to my cart and show them in action here on the Andrew Plays Cities channel. Finally, let's take a quick look at the free anniversary update released alongside the City Corner free developer diary. To be honest, the developers weren't quite as generous with the free content this time as they were with last year's updates. However, the new building included in the patch still looks quite impressive. The Iceflake Arena, modeled after the Nokia Arena, located in Tampere, will be added as a notable commercial building that provides entertainment for the city's residents. This arena will host concerts and ice hockey matches, although it remains to be seen whether it will also have any noticeable impact on the city's income. When I first saw it, I couldn't help but think of SimCity 2013. The update also introduced a very practical feature that many players will remember from Cities Skylines 1, the zoning toggle. This allows players to enable or disable zoning along roads. From now on, we can decide whether zoning should appear along a particular road segment, and we can even disable zoning on one side of the road while keeping it active on the other. This could be extremely useful for more realistic and precise city planning. According to the developers, however, this is only the first version of the feature, and they plan to expand it further in the future. Another important addition is the in-game Encyclopedia, which functions as a knowledge base for the game. Players can now access detailed explanations of game mechanics, systems, and DLC content in one centralized place. It essentially expands the tutorial information already present in the game, but in a much more accessible format. It even includes a search function, making it easy to find specific information when needed. And finally, the update also includes several bug fixes. These aim to improve office demand balancing, improve route planning for citizens, and fix several issues related to mixed residential areas. The developers also confirmed that this anniversary patch is only a minor update, and that they are already working on further fixes and improvements based on player feedback. As we approach the second quarter of the year, additional updates are expected, although no exact release dates have been announced yet. For now, it seems that both Tantalus and Iceflake are actively working to improve Cities Skylines 1 and 2. And even though we haven't heard much from Colossal Order recently, and based on past experience we probably won't for another year or two or more, it appears that these supporting studios were a good choice to continue improving the game. All things considered, even though Cities Skylines 2 only receives 2 anniversary packs this time, both of them look extremely promising. Office Evolution will probably appeal most to players who enjoy cities with character and architectural diversity rather than business districts made up to identical modern office towers. City Stations, on the other hand, takes a far more practical approach by finally adding stations depots, overpasses, and transportation upgrades that transport-focused city builders have been waiting for a very long time. The anniversary update itself may not be revolutionary, but it still introduces some useful new features. Among these, the zoning toggle clearly stands out as the most practical addition, as it allows for much more realistic and controlled city planning. That being said, it is also worth mentioning that the developers could have been more generous with the free content. Some of the features included in the paid pack, such as certain overpasses or basic stop props, could arguably have been included in the base game or released as part of a free update. Unfortunately, City Skylines 2 increasingly seems to be moving in a direction where players may need to purchase additional content in order to get the most complete gameplay experience. And that may not be the best approach for the long-term reputation of the game. If you enjoyed this preview, don't forget to support the channel by subscribing and sharing the video. This was a first look at the new creator packs for City Skylines 2. I will be back soon with a full post-release review. Thanks for watching and see you next time.